All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Level Up Geek Nights.
Mm-hmm.
Woo!
Mama.
Yes. Hello.
Yes. So I hope that
Mm.
our audio is working. Pa-check naman.
Mhm.
Just to make sure that we are heard properly.
In, so if you can hear us, great. If you can't,
Not
let
so
us know.
great.
Not so great, please let us know.
Yeah, it's a
Alright.
very common problem.
It does unfortunately happen quite a bit.
Yeah, because we don't have a tech person talaga. My gosh, my hair is like crazy. Anyway,
So if our two viewers can hear us clearly, can you please
Please let us know.
let us know?
all right. So, welcome everyone to another night of mayhem. Mayhem talaga. Another night of talk and tonight we are going to talk about fictional leaders here at Level Up Geek Night. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hi.
Sobrang appropriate na topic because with here in the country in the Philippines it's election time when there are leaders, so we're not gonna talk about them because that's too controversial. But we're gonna talk about,
I think not quite our bulwark.
yes, but we're gonna talk about fictional leaders and what makes them tick. What are they made of? Which ones which which ones are great and which ones are not so great.
Oh,
And
Which
with that
one
being said,
great in a negative way?
yes. So, with that being said, my name is John B. I'm the Christian Geek, and welcome to another episode of Level Up Geek Night. And with me, I have our esteemed panel of judges. Judges. We have our resident bear, Gio.
Hi.
We have our Chibi-chan Otaku,
So,
Maya.
omakase shimashita.
And
Yokoso.
of
wow.
course, if you ever need funds, just kidding. If you ever need
Don't go to me.
if you ever need the boss man, you have John G.
Yo.
All right.
Hello.
So how are we gonna kick this off, John?
So for tonight, kind of similar to last time, we had a talk on female heroes or characters we like. And I noticed yung format natin was we kind of went around different mediums, right? So went from
Mm-hmm.
TV shows, movies, books,
Mhm.
comics, anime, manga, video games, and whatnot. So for our structure tonight, being a all geek channel, stream, whatever, we will also do the same. So we're gonna hit across multiple entertainment mediums, you could say. So yon.
All right.
And sige, so what do we start with? So we'll pick a medium. I think we can start off with yung medium that is most represented in our poster, which I think is TV shows, no? Live action
Hi.
Yeah, we have TV shows and then we have
movie.
movies. Yes.
So
And
let's start off with that.
I just like to point out in our poster that we are bookended by Star Trek and Star Wars. So
True, true.
If that was intentional, we don't know.
we just want to shout out to Angel F for our poster.
Hi,
Hey,
hi. Arigato gozaimasu.
all right,
Mm-hmm.
so let's start with Star Trek. Total, we are there. Since we mentioned it already, Star Trek.
Oh
Um,
no, out ako dyan.
Bakit?
Wala akong alam dyan.
I
I
think
think
you're gonna have to take this, John. I do know a bit of Star Trek, but not enough to have an exhaustive commentary.
Yes, please do educate me.
yeah. Well, okay, fine. I love Star Trek. Star Trek is one of my jams, and
Yeah.
which by the way, don't kill me, Star Wars fans, because I love Star Wars too. I equally love them both. You can be both, you know. You don't
Of
have to be
course.
one or the other. It,
Yes. This isn't like no,
this isn't like
this
politics. This isn't like Philippine politics that you can only be one or the other.
or can you?
Mm.
Big
So,
topic off screen. Oh
so
hey, let's go.
okay, Star Trek. So of course, one of the most iconic leaders in Star Trek has to be Captain James T. Kirk. No, and probably one of the most what do you call that? How do I put it? One of the most iconic characters um, in the Star Trek universe.
Hmm.
But truth be told, I he's iconic in the way that and he's very important because he's the kind of leader that will fight for you, who will kumbaga parang kaping matapang sa paglalaban ka. And he will go to the ends of the earth to help you out. But I don't know if he's the kind of he's also very brash, and he's also very what's the word I'm looking for? Um he tends to jump the gun, no? And
Uh,
so if I'm going to say who's more a calm headed and more what do you call that, more grounded Star Trek leader, it has to be Picard, Jean-Luc, by the great Sir Patrick Stewart.
well,
So
just as my 2 cents on the Star Trek part. See Kirk kasi is a very much he's a captain of a single ship.
mhm, mhm,
And his attitude reflects that yung hot shot thing,
mhm.
or at least that's his how a lot of people would say it. Because there are some people who says like actually Picard is the more hot shot, hot headed guy. James T. Kirk just looks like one because he's beside a Spock. But anyway, that's a little bit debatable. But the point is, I think yeah, James T. Kirk, ano siya? Uh, he's a young leader. He has that very young energy, especially with the latest movie versions. See, with under kay Chris Pine.
Yeah, yeah. I guess the only my only complaint really is that he tends to be very impulsive. Pero he's a type of leader. One of the great qualities of James Seeker really has to be his willingness to fight for yung loyalty niya. His
Mhm.
willingness to fight for his people, for those who are under his command. And I think that makes a great leader, because a leader like that is someone, if you know that your leader will fight for you, this is also the same leader that I will do everything for this leader because I know he will protect me and take care of me. But I'm sure
Mhm.
many of us have experienced where our leader failed in that regard. Na parang feeling mo, hindi mo alam kung pagtatanggol ka ba ng leader na to or ano, di ba? Or
Mm.
uh, if things go wrong, will they be there to support you? No, ako personally, I've experienced leaders like that, and it's very discouraging. And it's the type of leader na parang, I'll just do the bare minimum of work kasi alam ko naman hindi naman ako I won't be rewarded for my efforts eh. You know? So I think leaders that inspire people to do better are great. No?
Indeed, indeed. They can make it much easier for us to perform.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
With that being said, I think those are the two. Ako, I would only really think of Captain Kirk and Captain Picard. Picard is more of a, how do I put it? He's more of a mentor type of leader.
Mm.
Na
Yeah,
parang
he did have younger people on his ship. And
Yep.
yeah, and I think even in the next generation, he's the type that would sit down, and alam mo yun, parang talk to his leaders. Actually, he would often be seen trying to mentor yung number one niya, his second in command. No?
hmm.
So, si Riker. Yeah. So, yeah.
Right.
That's Star Trek.
That is Star Trek. Unfortunately, not much to bounce off the rest of this team. Maybe we should do a more deep, bounce off with actual fans of the series
Wala
for a
si
future.
Vince dito eh, Vince.
Why?
Galawin mo ang baso.
Galawin mo ang baso, Vince.
Si Vince, siya kasi sino ba yung friends natin na matreks? So Vince and Shy are Trek fans.
Oh
So,
yeah.
Mm.
Where
so
is Shy?
they're around. Picard nga daw, we should tackle Picard. I'm like, oh, I'd love to, but I don't watch Picard.
It's a
Nor his,
nice show. It's a nice show.
or I also don't watch the original series kasi. So maybe one of these days, being a actual sci-fi fan, I should overcome my prejudices and childhood trauma. Woo! About Star Trek.
Bakit ano ba meron sa Star Trek?
Mahabang usapan yan. I'll tell you. But suffice to say, I held nothing against the fan. Well, I had a bad fan base experience. Let's put it that way.
Mm.
Ah,
Was the one with Patrick Stewart the series?
yung
Yeah,
bago. Yes.
yeah.
Oh. But
Entire.
who played Patrick Stewart's character with the new movie?
Still
Patrick
himself.
Stewart. The new series is still Patrick Stewart. Yes.
Yep.
Oh,
Man,
I
he's old.
see.
He's old, and you can see it. He's aging. So this is probably his last long-term thing with the
Into movies,
show.
into TV shows.
Yes.
with the Star Trek TV show rather. So we'll see. We'll see. He's like 70s by now. Kudos pa rin to him. Very solid portrayal.
Well, both him and Ian McKellen are so old. sila yung contemporaries eh.
Yeah, they're like best friends. Yeah.
They are great friends. Yes.
And speaking of Ian McKellen,
Exactly.
You're gonna go into that. Okay.
Okay. So next is
Well, he said Ian McKellen, so I'm assuming.
well he has a lot of
No, but I'm assuming it's gonna be something related to him. So go. What's he said? Speak Ian.
well, I was trying actually to try to check what are the acting credits of Ian McKellen as leaders in fictional leaders.
Gandalf.
And of course,
Yeah,
Gandalf
yeah.
is
Magneto.
and Magneto.
Oh yes. Two very different leaders, right? Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So how do we want to look into that? Do we do X-Men first or do we do Lord of the Rings?
Let's do X-Men first because we can also tackle Picard there. I mean, see Picard tuloy.
I guess
Patrick
we
Stewart.
could lead it in from there now. Yeah,
Patrick
sure.
Stewart. Yeah.
So Patrick
Yeah,
Stewart.
sure.
Patrick Stewart. Let's still stick with him. What is he like as a leader? As
In Professor X.
hmm hmm.
Well, there were two Professor X's kasi in the movies. Patrick Stewart and the young
That
guy,
guy.
Si James McAvoy.
James
Yes.
McAvoy. So the older Patrick Stewart, of course, is I don't know. He feels very 90s cartoon X-Men.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm,
Older, caring father figure,
mhm.
grandfather figure almost actually.
That said, he still has his shortcomings as a leader.
As a
He
leader.
did.
Because
Yeah, I think
I believe one of the things that most people would cite is his decision to inhibit that the gene's
Jean?
Powers.
Yeah.
abilities. Yes.
Yes.
And so because of that, she never learned to control them, and
Mm,
it went haywire the next time.
mm. I would say that um, with Patrick Stewart, um, he still kind of emitted that father type caring figure to Jean. But with James, he's more of a friend. Like, hindi mo na naramdaman sa kanya yung kind of caring of a father for Jean, but more of like really Hindi naman pushing, pero alam mo yung parang
I
mas
think it
ano,
might have
mas,
been the age difference din kasi.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
Mm-mm.
plus, like he looks so much younger than uh, Patrick Stewart na it's hard to get that kind of chemistry. Hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway,
See James McAvoy, you
yeah.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah,
of course. Because that was much. Of course, they were depicting him during his prime, physical prime, if
yeah.
not ability prime. So, but
Pero
there is
alam,
one
Hmm.
thing they both had in common: yung fiery, visionary thing. Like they were
Yes.
big, huge visionary thinkers. They did
Big,
stuff
the
like that.
big pictures, yeah.
Mm, big picture guy pa rin sila.
ako for me, yung compassion din eh. There's this level of compassion that they had for the people that they were, ano, the reason why, um, parang si
He put up the school.
he put up the school, no, and
Right.
everything is because he wanted a chance to create a safe space for people
Yeah.
to really get to know themselves and with their
Mm-hmm.
powers, diba? And
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
would even give a chance even uh in every iteration of ano, he would always give a chance to even villains to
Mm,
reform.
Mm-hmm.
'Di ba?
Yeah.
Parang he saw the good in everyone, even in the villains, even when everybody would say na, hindi, ano yan, parang there's no chance for this guy anymore. Pero siya,
Hmm.
he
Yeah.
would, 'di ba? And that's how he even looked at ano eh, si
Magneto.
Mystique.
Magneto, 'di ba? Yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think that's why
sorry.
they had such a, despite their
Good.
difference in views like towards people, they had a very healthy relationship with each other.
Yeah,
Mm.
they are friends, right?
They
Hmm.
were friends. Oo. Ang ano lang talaga para sa akin, I think, for me, one of the things that and I think this is the pitfall of a lot of older generation people is the tendency to hide things because they
Yes.
feel like it's better that these people don't know. So he did it with Jean Grey, and not just suppress his powers, but hide the truth behind her past, hide the truth behind her powers. No, he did not divulge it, and parang in a sense, it comes off as manipulative, eh, no?
Even
Uh,
hiding amongst the people.
yeah, yeah. I think that's for me that was the pitfall of the character of Xavier is that he could not uh that he always thought parang kumbaga pinangungunahan yung mga tao. He parang
Mm-hmm.
he he thought that this
He
is the
thought,
best thing for these people when actually there are other better ways to help them. Parang ganun.
hmm, right.
How
Like I
about
think it might have
Magneto?
been okay.
Sorry,
Oh,
yes,
sorry.
Gio?
What?
No,
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say his own view then might have been in how he grew up as a mutant din kasi like there was
That's
that
also
scene in the that X-Men, the one with James McAvoy, what's that one called? First Class?
first class, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 'di ba parang the difference between him and si Raven
Hmm.
kasi like he wants to live amongst the humans and it's easy for him because his power is very subtle.
Yeah, yeah.
Parang it's not like very visual so people can see. So parang it's easier for him to like
Blend in.
he lives a more in a way you say privileged life compared to the rest of the mutants.
Yeah,
So
that's true.
parang because of that like his view on everything is a little bit what's the word?
While others have to hide talaga
Yeah, parang ganun.
their mutancy.
Like he may have good intentions but he hasn't experienced the same stuff as them to be able to
Yeah,
relate to them kasi
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, with that being said, let's take a look at Magneto because
the other
Magneto
side of
is
that spectrum.
the other side of that spectrum. And ako I got introduced to Magneto when at a young age and I've always when I was young, ang tingin ko sa kanya kasi villain because that's how the
That's how they
original
depicted him in the cartoons and stuff.
in the cartoons, yeah, the 90s cartoons. So he was really
Mm-hmm.
depicted as a villain. But if you go into the comics and you go into the storylines ng movies then that you see that he's more than just a villain. No, parang he's also trying to fight for mutant rights. But
Yes.
iba lang
But
yung
he's just
viewpoint
being
niya.
more violent.
Yes.
Parang siyang leftist, ganon.
Oo. Imagine mo para siyang NPA. Wow, NPA talaga. Red tagging kagad. No, but
More,
yeah,
basically, he's like an extremist in a way.
in a
Yeah.
way. Yeah,
Mm.
in a way
When
that's
you
really
when you think about it, parang pareho din yung gustong mangyari
Yeah,
ni
they both want the same thing, where they want the
yeah,
mutants to live happier
yes,
lives.
yes.
It's just that si Magneto wants to live it separate from the rest of the
Mm,
people, while
yeah.
Xavier wants to live in harmony with them.
mm,
Yes. And ano in a sense meron din siyang parang feeling like where they feel that parang they should dominate over humans, over
mm,
Yeah, they're the
non
superior.
mutants.
Yeah, that they're the superior race now.
Exactly. And so this is where I think na while all leaders may have good intentions, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, 'di ba? Hindi ibig
Mm-hmm.
sabihin na yung actions nila excuses them, no? Even if they have good intentions. And I think that's prevalent in many, even in real life, 'di ba? Parang just because they have good intentions, because the leader wants to do something good, doesn't mean that the actions that they're doing towards that is good, 'di ba? And so
Yeah,
we have to separate yung intention versus
actual
uh
actions.
actual actions, kasi yung actions mismo
Mm,
nila will color
yeah,
talaga what they represent and what their values
correct.
are.
What? Yeah, yeah. Basically, we believe in ends don't justify the means.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think that's where Magneto and Xavier really diverge, eh.
Mm-hmm.
Because Xavier and Magneto, while they both have compassion for mutants and they want to create a place or that's safe for both for mutant kind, or parang to push for mutant kind na rights,
Mm-hmm.
mm.
Xavier is not willing to go that there are limits to what he is willing to do, because hindi nga parang morally hindi siya talaga acceptable yung actions na ganun. While kay Magneto, it's parang everything or nothing, eh. Parang ganun yung dating sa kanya.
Yes. Anything goes for him basta ma-push yung goal niya.
Yes. And I think that's a good case study, no, when you look at how um the smaller terrorist groups work, that they might have good intentions, but at the end of the day their actions speak louder than words, eh. No, I bring up the NPA again, but really they have good intentions, but the actions does not speak of of the values that they carry, eh, 'di ba?
Mm,
Kumbaga, their actions have to match their values, their stated values.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So with that, let's take a look at some of the other Ian McKellen na na
Roles.
Yeah.
roles.
girls.
So we mentioned Gandalf already. So what do we think of Gandalf?
Hmm. So as a
As a leader.
leader, I think Gandalf was a leader in a very subtle sense. Like, he got things going, but he took charge only at certain moments. Like,
Mm,
when someone else could take charge, he roused them rather than being the one who took charge.
mm.
True.
So, like with
I think
Frodo,
I
yeah.
think I would
Yeah, because like he was. Okay.
consider him as an enabler.
Hmm.
Because like you said, John, ano, there were only moments where um he led, pero in a sense na pero hindi siya nag-take ng lead, pero he was able to parang be able to as an enabler for the hobbits, for Frodo, ganyan. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yung presence niya uh, kind of gave them hope, gave them encouragement to do what they had to do with the ring, diba?
Hmm.
Gio, you were gonna say something?
I was gonna say about, yeah, parang he has the position, like, and the, because he is one of the five wizards or four, I forget,
Five. Five
five
wizards.
wizards. So like
Yep.
him being one of them has a certain reputation that comes with it. So parang he could have easily parang gotten everyone's support and everything. It definitely would have been easier for him, like, to rally people together kasi being a wizard. But uh but he decided nga to take a step back and let others, or rather
Mm.
encourage others to take the lead, because honestly he's not, yeah, he shouldn't be, because he's supposed to be just uh
An advisor.
an advisor,
Mm.
right? Like he could have been like Saruman and take become, quote unquote, a leader of other the armies on the other side, but he
Yeah.
didn't.
That came around with Saruman actually as a contrasting leader. Because you see, Saruman was also a wizard, and he went the route of taking control, creating his own power.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, and it went, not that creating your own power base is always wrong, but it tends to go sideways. Kasi it was driven by ambition.
Mm.
So iba yung motivation. Whereas si Gandalf was really more of like he wanted to enable the rightful leaders and people of Middle Earth to stand up for themselves, to take responsibility for their stewardship of the land. And ganun. So he was that, which is also actually a good leader. If you think about it, a good leader is not always the guy charging in front, but he could also totally be the guy um, empowering people, which is what he did.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
he
there's many
enabled
different kinds of
power.
leaders.
Yeah, there are. Yeah.
When I
Thoughts,
think of,
sir.
I'm thinking about Gandalf, and um, for those who don't know, Gandalf is really actually what's the word I'm looking for? A stand-in for Jesus. The way that the character is designed, no. We have to
Mm.
remember that Tolkien
Christian.
was a Christian, no. He was although he was Catholic, no, but he actually wrote uh Lord of the Rings with Christian values in mind. And Gandalf
Mm.
is really a composite of sorts of Jesus, no.
Hmm.
He he stirred the fellowship up so that they can do the right thing, and then when the time came, he sacrificed himself, died, but then was resurrected. Right? Just like
Hmm.
Jesus. And when he came back, he became uh
The
similar,
White Wizards.
the White Wizard, right? And when he came back as the White Wizard
Mm.
on a horse, he uses a white horse to remember. So
See shadow. Yeah.
so in Shadowfax, so you can see the symbolism is really there to represent that he's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, right? And that he was the one who led the charge pa nga, ano, to save
Mm.
in the second movie, diba? To save the people of Rohan. So
Mm.
uh, ako personally ang ganda lang kasi na that the leaders don't need to be the same way that we think of leaders, in the sense that they have to be up there in front leading the charge, that they are parang worshipped by many. They don't need to be like that eh. They can be leaders can be as simple as someone who is sabi nga ni Maya enabler no. Someone who is encouraging everyone, pushing them forward. But who is willing to sacrifice if necessary, no? Which is I think this is it's descriptive of who Jesus is as a leader then eh. No na parang he enabled the his disciples no just like the fellowship
Mm.
he enabled his disciples he parang gave them power gave them confidence and when the time came he sacrificed himself for the good of the world no for our sins and nakakatuwa lang yung parallelism na yun and we remember that the Jews were expecting a leader riding on a parang not just riding on a parang riding on a chariot siguro or horse conquering land. Yun yung idea na naisip nila na pagdating ng Messiah. But that's not the Messiah that Jesus was, 'di ba?
Yeah.
And so Gandalf is the same way. He was not the conquering wizard or leader that ano but whenever he came there was hope, 'di ba? Parang whenever Gandalf appeared, it was always in the light of day that he arrives. No, there's always he's always associated with light even when he was saving the soldiers of ano sa third film,
Wonder.
sa return.
Yeah.
'Di ba when he was saving the soldiers, yung staff niya ano showed light against the ano 'di ba? The Nazgul so that they were able to run back into Tiras
Minus Tirith.
Minas Tirith, yes.
Minus Tirith. Yes.
Yes. So parang ganon si Gandalf
The
eh.
white city.
He is somehow a representation of hope then and ano in the series and I think a good leader or a good fictional leader is someone who imbibes that idea of giving hope to others.
Mm.
That's
I
true.
remember I remember when Gandalf sacrificed himself, diba? Um Frodo was really distraught na nawala siya. And even the Fellowship of the Ring, they were really down because um yung leader nila, which is Gandalf at the time,
Mm.
left them because of his sacrifice. But then makikita mo din sa kanila how their hope was um how their spirits went up nung nakita na nila that Gandalf was resurrected as the White Wizard.
Mm.
And it really gave them the push that they needed to move on and to continue with the mission.
Mm. Mm. Yeah, well, yeah, so yung nag-take up sa leadership role was si, ano, from what I remember, it was Aragorn who took up the leadership role.
Yeah.
Diba? So, that was an interesting one. And he is also one of the other leaders who are significant in the Lord of the Rings.
Si
Mhm.
Aragorn, yeah.
Mm,
Yes.
his rise to leadership was also kind of subtle, but it kind of came out, no?
What I think I like about Aragorn is that he has natural leadership qualities.
Yeah.
Mm.
And wala siyang ambition to be king or to be lord. Wala sa character niya to have that kind of ambition.
Yeah.
Although what I would have liked to see in a character like Aragorn is to have more of a at the beginning parts kasi medyo may tendency siya to be passive eh. In a sense
Yeah.
na he does not want the leadership role. I'm happy to be I'm happy to be Strider. I'm happy to be the Lone
Mm.
Ranger, ganon.
I don't want it.
I don't want it.
Which sounds like someone else, right? I don't know,
Mhm.
diba? Totally foisted off the. We'll see how that goes in the actual books. So,
Pero 'di ba, leadership is sometimes we are not chosen to be leaders. It's trust upon us eh. 'Di ba?
That is
Sabi
true.
nga sabi nga is that ano, 'di ba we always say that it's not what do you call that? That God does not
Hmm.
does not choose the qualified, 'di ba? He qualifies. He does
The
not
call.
calls the qualified, he qualifies the called, no?
Hmm.
So when he chooses someone to be a leader, he will make sure that you will be equipped and be given the right skills to become the leader that he wants you to be, 'di ba?
Mhm.
Hmm.
So ako yun parang galing lang. Ganun yun lang talaga nang una si Aragorn parang ayaw ko. I don't want this ano.
Well, but it's nice how he grows out of it though, because uh,
He did.
when he comes to terms with his role, he comes to terms with his lineage, he comes to terms with all of that, which I think works out talaga.
Mm.
Actually, comparing the Aragorn of the books, sa books kasi medyo he was more eager to claim his uh,
Mm.
what do you call it, seat.
Hmm.
So good, but it's a very good contrast because the decision or the turning point in this move in the movie version of Aragorn comes when Boromir dies, right?
Yeah.
And then suddenly he's like, there's that moment where like, okay, I cannot simply hand off what I can do, because if I take on this role, so to speak, or take up this cup, so to speak, then it is actually for the betterment of people.
Yeah.
And because of that, he sees that I have to claim it. I have to claim the throne and live up to my, I don't know, destiny. Kumbaga,
Destiny. Kainis.
diba? So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a very interesting one, and he does it very well. He actually has a lot of the leadership qualities naman talaga.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of choice na will he take it or not.
And speaking
So
of but there are also bad leaders in bad leaders in Lord of the Rings, ah.
there are a lot.
Uh I think the father of Boromir is really at the top of that list.
See, Denethor. So Denethor, yeah.
I got the message. Just
So
checking.
So
parang yeah. I mean, Denethor was like what? So obsessed with his favorite son that when he found out that he died, wala na siyang parang biglang wala na siyang pakialam. And naawa,
Mm.
I really was sorry for Faramir eh.
Hmm.
Parang
Yeah.
yeah,
not
the movie
acknowledged at all.
highlighted that. This it really highlighted the favoritism super.
Mm.
So parang I think we have leaders like Denethor that parang more obsessed about power or obsessed about parang yung leaders what do you call this? Not just the leadership parang
Hmm.
yung lineage niya and the one who will take over his lineage rather than the people, to the point that he would send his own son to death, just because
It
parang
didn't
mas
match up.
because it's important to recapture the city and and I don't care about you because you're not my favorite son. Parang what?
Oh, my heart is broken. Ay,
Yeah,
nare-relieve ko yung scene na yun.
Hmm.
Nakakainis.
Buti na
yung
lang
ano,
may buti na lang may AOWin si Parang
there, there was redemption for Gondor.
yeah.
And they do well. So yun. So I'm sure there's other characters we can dive into in Lord of the Rings. It has a really deep bunch of characters, but we should probably head on to a different franchise. Shall we? What is next on our lineup?
Well, we haven't tackled Star Wars yet, and I think a lot of our fans. A lot of our viewers, if any, hi guys, are Star Wars fans.
May madaming leaders sa Star Wars, ah.
True.
Good and bad.
Yes.
Yes, lots of bad ones actually.
Yes, actually.
A lot of bad leaders. That's why it's such a mess.
So,
So,
Well, when you think about it, parang the only uh resistance that I see is the resistance talaga.
Mm-hmm.
So parang yung odds talaga against sa
the,
kanila.
yeah, the for me the best leader is pretty much Princess Leia. And then di naman, there were others behind the scenes. A movie, if we're focusing on the movie lang though, it was her, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
By and far and large. Bad leaders, marami.
Yeah.
Super dami.
actually, if you think about it, even on the good side, there were bad leaders.
Exactly. Most of the quote unquote good characters were not great leaders. Um, they were
uh,
very flawed.
yeah, actually,
Uh,
I'm sorry. I have to say that even Luke was not a good leader.
no. But actually, if you think about it, Luke was never really a leader. He was a hero, but he was not a leader.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
So I would
So,
say he's not a leader, no. Leadership roles talaga. Yung leadership roles talaga, I think, if you look at the entire series, would have fell to, of course, there's Leia, and then there's
Mm-hmm.
Yoda.
there's Yoda.
Uh,
Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
Yeah.
I would
uh,
say, I would say one of the best, one of the great fictional leaders then in my opinion is the adoptive father of Leia. Si ano,
si
si
Organa.
Yeah.
Bail Organa. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He
Mm-hmm.
was a good example, one of the few good leaders, I think. Although his role was quite small, but in those small scenes, he showed a lot of good character traits.
Actually, maganda
So
sa kanya, I think for me is the balance where he tried to keep the balance between the radical forces of the radical elements of the then republic na parang hindi siya nagsaside on one side or the other and was trying to keep everything in order until obviously
Mm-hmm.
hindi na talaga pwede because obvious na
Mm.
yung ano yung plot ng na ni Palpatine, right?
Yeah.
he was a very mature type 9 in the Enneagram, I think. Peacemaker. Because he was trying to keep he's trying to keep the peace, in a sense. Trying to reconcile, forge compromises for the better. Pero wala eh. When you have someone like a Palpatine, you know,
May nagko-comment dito sa comment
Mm.
section natin si Tantan. Hi Tan.
hello.
General Halfas Aladdin daw.
Sorry.
General
General
Halfas Aladdin.
uh Star Wars.
I guess since we're in that topic.
I will search it because it's not a movie character.
Tapos hi daw sabi ni Luke Tita Jemaya.
Si Lucky. Hi, Lucky.
Ako for me, one of my favorite leaders is General Admiral Akbar. General Admiral
Or
Akbar.
Ah,
It's a trap.
how so? How so?
Um, actually, when you look at his character, si Akbar, ano lang siya eh, steady lang siya. He's always there. And parang, despite the fact na parang, even when his race did not want to join
Mm.
he's
Mm.
there. Kasi hesitant naman mag-join ng rebellion ng unang ang race niya eh.
yeah,
Mm.
uh,
Who
the
wouldn't
Mon
be naman?
the Mon Calamari. So yeah, he was one of the only. I know he was one of the more significant military leaders.
Not
So
Star Wars daw. So anong yan? Anong
Hindi pa
franchise
Star
yan,
Wars.
Tantan?
yeah, I was wondering like, oh, I don't know this character from Star Wars.
Tapos sino yung who's that leader ng rebellion na nakaputi sa Star Wars, sa New Hope? New Hope ba
Si
yun?
Mon Mothma.
Si Mon Mothma, yeah.
Oh.
Yes, she was a contemporary of Bale, and it was good to see her in moments. Because she plays a much larger role off screen, but they
Mm.
managed to include bits of her on screen. Uh, pero very few moments lang eh. So she only appears in the Return of the Jedi, giving the briefing before the attack.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
I think
Isn't she in
in
Rogue One?
Rogue One, yes, kaya nga, in
Yes.
Rogue, she also appeared briefly in Rogue One. So she was a strong character. She's very actually similar in style to um, Padme slash Amidala and Princess
Oh
Leia.
yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
similar siya sa
Yes.
kanila except less physically militant. She was
Mm.
more of a architect diplomat. So
Si
sadly, we
Padme,
didn't see much.
ako lang I like Padme because ano um at the start anyway before she fell in love, ano talaga eh.
Yes.
Well, before she fell in love with the wrong guy.
Sagabal talaga ang ano eh. Sagabal talaga ang love life eh.
Well, it depends. The person
Yeah,
can make.
it depends. Unfortunately.
Pero 'di ba
Mhm.
Padme,
Anyway,
Padme at in the start of the series she was what?
Hmm.
Uh how old was she? 12 or 14? I
she's a
forgot.
teen.
She was a teenager. Kasi remember that the queens of Naboo have always been uh teenagers eh. They are
Mm.
elected to office as teenagers. And yet
Yeah.
she had such a love for her planet, for her
Yes,
people,
people. Mm.
and ano she did not hold any kind of what do you call this? Racist tendencies against the people of ano Jar Jar. What were his
Mm-mm,
people,
mm-mm.
'di ba?
I
Right.
forget what they're called.
Oh, the Gungans.
The Gungans, right? So wala siyang ano,
Hanggang.
wala siyang ill will against these people and so, alam mo talaga nakita mo na parang at a young age may values na talaga siya that show something.
Amazing kasi.
Oh,
Amazing kasi she's a well-rounded leader na at that time at her age. No, she was
exactly.
able to ano ba to? Show diplomacy towards the
Mm,
Gungans. Kaya siya nagkaroon ng ng ties with the race.
yes, no. And
Mm-hmm.
ano 'di ba, parang in Star Wars traditionally most races that share the same planet they're always at odds with each other, but she's the only one who was able to bring the two races together, no. I mean,
Mm.
anywhere canonically I've read or seen siya lang nakagawa nun. And at that age,
Mm.
'di ba? Again, at that age,
Mm.
no, parang she's already quite aware of her role as a leader.
Mm.
And yung ano niya yung um she reminds me of sino to? Yung Ukrainian president si Zelensky na
Oh,
tip
right.
na,
Well,
na tipong ano yung tawag mo dito, people underestimate her because she is a female, she is young,
Mm.
and yet
Mm-hmm.
when push comes to shove, she's the first one in the parang she's in the front line, she's the one willing to
Yes.
sacrifice her life, no, to
Yes.
for the betterment of her people. And parang 'di ba nga sabi nga in the movie parang she was ready to go back, I don't care, no, but these are my people, I have to protect them, I have
Yes.
to save them, no.
Mm.
And she knows that she's done everything that she could in
Mm.
terms of going to the Galactic Senate na eh.
yep.
And I think na it was a very good depiction of the mother of Leia, 'di ba? Kasi parang dun mo talaga makikita na her
Mana ng
character,
mama
her
niya.
sorry?
Mana sa mama niya.
Yes, 'di
Oh,
ba? Yung character, yung strengths niya as a leader, she passed on to Leia. And actually nung when I was younger, when I
Mm.
first watched the episode 1 of the Star Wars, um sobrang ah enamored din ako kay Padme na she was able yung trick niya with the decoy, parang sobrang bago sa akin yun. Sobrang bago sa akin yun noon eh. Tapos yung she was there fighting with her people, trying to escape from the palace, 'di ba? And even going back to do what she needs to do to save the people. So, sobrang para sa akin ang gandang example si Padme noon sa episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Maganda siyang example ng leader. And then it's good to see that she was able to pass it on to her daughter, even though she wasn't able to spend much time with her, but yung ano talaga, yung character traits niya and yung strength niya as a leader na pass on niya kay Leia.
Yeah.
It
And
was in her
it's
bloodline.
and I trivia lang, and I like the fact that Padme Amidala was played by Natalie Portman, and yung body double niya was played by Keira Knightley, which are
Oo.
Ah, yeah.
two of the best female actresses na ano, kaya parang people don't
Oh, hindi ko
usually
pa
know that Keira Knightley was there. She
Oo,
played as the
hindi ko
body
pa nun
double.
siya kilala.
Na
Yeah,
hindi ko rin know her
that was
ngayon.
right before she had her
Big
rise
break.
to yeah, her big break.
Mm.
Alrighty.
Who
So
else do we have? Ang dami sa Star Wars, ah.
Mm-hmm. I
Siguro
mean, it's
we
it's
could
it's.
go for
I
the
mean,
bad
there's a
one.
lot of political stuff in Star Wars. So
There
Yeah.
is. We could we don't want to overstay it. We could tackle a negative leader example.
Mhm,
how
mhm.
about ano? How about si sino to? Sa ano sa sequel trilogies, si Hux. Huxtable.
Hux, yes,
Yung
was a
Hux again?
very
he
he
has
was
a
a
he
paano
he
ba?
he was the leader ng ano eh. He was one of the leaders ng uh ano yun, First Order.
Mhm.
And ano,
Oh,
parang
oh, that guy, that dude.
yeah. And there was one thing that he said that na tumatak sa utak ko. Yung sinabi niya na no, I don't care who wins. I just care who loses.
mm,
Napaka vengeful niya.
Yep. And actually, that became a negative trait of a lot of imperial commanders. Napansin ko was that they were very vengeance or fearfully driven.
mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
the books also expand on that. I mean, during its rise to power, there are a lot of good commanders as well, but the tendency for the leaders was more of like that kind. So it's very personal lang na as long as I can rise in the ranks and as long as it's very self-centered basically. So Hux is a very good example of that self-centered
Mm.
view of leadership, quote unquote. No matter if he actually had good strategic or tactical ability, we do kind of remember him for uh, his vengefulness, I would suppose. It's, which is, as they say, very dark side. So the
Yeah,
Empire somehow, I know, is good at that.
Actually, they tend to bring out leaders that are always out for vengeance, no? I
Mm,
mean,
Mm.
if you look at the Star Wars ano talaga universe, ang daming leaders na ganun. They're always out for vengeance, no?
mm-hmm.
And I'm not even including the leaders from the like the what do you call this? The syndicates, no? I'm just
mm,
talking about, you know, most of the Galactic Empire leaders act that way.
Yeah. One of the few leaders I know who is canon, although not in the movies, but they said canon siya, is si Admiral Thrawn. He was one of the few
Mm.
leaders who he's in the Rebels
The
na TV
series.
show, yes. And I think also the Clone War stuff I think also feature him in towards the later seasons. Siya lang yung leader na purely out of his ability talaga rose through the ranks. Hindi siya vengeful na leader type. He was very cool, calculated, logical, and was just sheer skill at psychological warfare. That's why he was always able to win
Mm.
against his enemies. So he didn't take it out of vengeance na he manipulated. He manipulated people to achieve victories, not out of a sense of vengefulness, but just out of sheer like, okay, if we want the victory, this is the most efficient way to get it. but he was actually protective of the people under his command.
Mm.
So one of the, I would say, best leaders in the Star Wars universe. So unfortunately, we don't get to see too much of him, but he is a fan favorite. So hopefully, who knows, we might get more
My
screen time for him. I mean,
I
Obi Wan is getting screen time, so we'll see how that goes.
I heard that he's going to get screen time because in The Mandalorian season 2,
Mm-hmm.
si Ahsoka mentions talking about looking for for Admiral Thrawn. So I think that is going to be part of the of the storyline,
Yes.
and we might actually get to see a because of that we might actually get to see a live action Thrawn and a live action what do you call that, Ezra Ezra Bridger.
Okay, I'm good with that. I'm good with that,
Yeah.
especially the Thrawn angle, because it is good to see a sympathetic Imperial character.
Yeah. Actually, if you think about it, the Imperial characters that really did well are the ones that are not vengeful. I mean, you look at Moff Tarkin. Uh, I mean, he rose to the ranks because of his, his,
Political
yes, 'di ba? Hindi siya parang petty like a lot of the
he
Empire,
was very ambitious, dangerously ambitious, but and he was also very prideful and arrogant. But he was not petty in a sense.
uh,
Na parang he was very focused. So, which got him the Death Star. Unfortunately for him, it had certain loopholes, which his underlings did not spot.
yes.
Yeah, but yeah, he was a good character. Moff Tarkin, very good character.
Why don't we ask Gio
Hmm.
who are the
Yes.
leaders that any leaders, spending Star Wars, spending other
Yeah,
leaders that
at this point, we can try another franchise if you'd like.
Sige, let's try.
yes.
Hmm. I I always like to go back to this because he has really good um examples. Uh, the Avatar series.
All right, okay, so we can do that. Um, Animated stuff. Okay, so who would you like to?
There's a lot, but if it comes to the group, I think it have to be Sokka.
Um, well, he's like, yeah, okay, he's a teenage leader, but
Yeah,
yes,
he leads. He in a way leads them, despite being the least gifted amongst the group.
he's the one without the supernatural abilities.
Yes, but
Yeah.
he does what he does. Parang he supports them in a way. Parang he's like the. If you think about it, I don't want servant leadership kind of thing, I guess, because he was always the one doing the other smaller stuff. Like he's the one who makes the
Yeah.
he's the one who organizes the schedules. He's the one who wants to keep them all on track. Yung
Mm,
mga finances, I believe, is him then. If
Mm-hmm.
we were to base it on, so parang because of him, all of the rest of them are able to relax a lot more on their journey to the Fire Nation. Parang it
Mm-hmm.
even noted nga na despite his inability to like bend, his presence is very much missed when he does do his when he goes to his master. Diba? Parang they may parang make fun of him a lot, but that's where they realize how important he is to them. So like, uh, I mean, that's just how I see it. Then, kasi,
that's true, naman. It's sometimes hard to view for me because I like, well, I do like my more serious stuff, but Sokka really was also he grew into a leadership role, like out
yeah,
of no. It felt a little out of nowhere, but he's another good example of like yung background quote unquote, and then he grows into a forward position
hmm,
because of his ideas.
Mm.
Because he was, let's face it, he was the smart one, despite
yeah,
his
Yeah.
goofiness. He was the smart guy. He was the one who invented things. He was the one who thought of out of the book ideas. he was the one who thought, despite all the goofiness, unlike the others who were not as creative thinkers, I suppose.
Mm.
So,
True, true.
I can respect that how he grew into his leadership role. Hmm.
Ako ano I really like, actually I like Sokka, but the leader that really comes to mind for me, at least from the group
Hmm.
or at least the expanded group, is si Zuko eh. Sorry.
Hmm.
May bias talaga ako.
No,
Mm.
no, no. Zuko's one of the greatest characters, naman, for
I
sure.
think he has one of the best ano kasi character redemption arcs in any story.
Yeah,
That is
And
true.
hands
eh,
down. Yeah.
and when you read, kasi there were like comics after the
Yep.
series that bridges the gap
Mhm.
between Avatar and Korra. You
Yes.
see how much he grows as a leader, no? As the leader of not of the Fire Nation at such a young age. Pero nakita because of his experiences with the group, his own personal experience, his experience with his uncle Iroh, na na what you call this, you can see how much he has absorbed all of those experiences and become a leader that can be trusted, someone who is working towards peace rather than conflict, considering Fire Nation.
Yeah.
'Di ba? Which has traditionally been, yun nga, yung character trait nila because it's fire, 'di ba? Na medyo sila hotheads. But siya hindi eh. Parang he has learned to become level-headed, no? Calm and
Mhm.
level-headed despite his original personality, no?
Mhm.
So, para sa akin, nakakatuwa lang to see Zuko grow up in such a way that alam mo na no one is beyond redemption and everyone can learn to become a good leader because,
Yes.
good leaders naman are not necessarily born eh. No? It's
Mhm. Mhm.
also, part of that is also their upbringing eh. Their how they grow up and how they mature.
And sometimes
Hmm.
it's not ano yung development mo, it does not necessarily come from uh your own family that you grew up with, kasi minsan yun pa yung yun pa yung trauma. Doon pa talaga galing yung trauma mo eh. But the people who you go with along the way, people who really care for you, people who want to see the best in you. And I think that's what happened when he um came along with the group of Ang and the others.
Hmm.
And I think that that also was the foundation of his character development and how he became a leader that the Fire Nation needs, na from the leader na sobrang authoritarian or whatever, but with Zuko,
Hmm.
nagkaroon din ng redemption yung the whole Fire Nation from what it was before. And then after, it was under Zuko.
Yep.
Mm. Right. I mean, but yeah, there's even adult characters that are great leaders, in right?
Yeah. Well, obviously, great and bad.
Obviously, yeah. I mean, one them I think everyone will agree is Iroh.
Yeah,
Mm.
I
definitely
mean,
Iroh.
he was a general for a reason. Parang
And
Yeah.
I believe he was the one who was supposed to inherit the throne.
he
Actually, not
was
not
Yeah.
Zuko's dad.
before Zuko's dad convinced him na he just lost his heir. Do you really want our family to parang die
Yeah.
out kind of thing? That's how he convinced the father kasi to pass it on to him instead. Eh.
Hmm.
Mhm.
He was
Kasi he's like
broken.
he's already old na eh, then he's not gonna be able to have an heir.
Hmm.
I mean, they didn't even show him with the wife anymore,
Oh, nga
so
eh.
she
That's
was probably dead too.
yeah. At that point,
True.
the wife already had passed away, I believe.
Hmm.
So
So
Iroh's son died at an old an older age. His son
As
was
an
actually,
adult, yung,
officer na yung
he,
anak niya, di ba?
he was in the
Yeah.
army.
Yes.
That's what I know. Yeah.
Ako
So yun.
personally, I think, but despite this, no, di ba, lang ganda lang ng character ni Iroh because I remember making a character study on this before, and Iroh is really like a composite of ano no, of the father of the prodigal son sa ano eh, sa
Mm.
Bible eh, no, na
Mhm.
parang never did he stop loving ano Zuko
Zuko.
even when Zuko went off the deep end, even when Zuko betrayed him, 'di ba? Na
Hmm.
minahal ng
Yeah.
minahal niya si Zuko. Sabi nga niya doon sa scene when they reunite na parang I was never angry at you. I
Hmm.
was just disappointed because I thought I had lost you. Parang ganun.
No, you.
So,
I thought you had lost your way.
I thought you had lost your way. Tapos, nabasad ko yun.
Ah.
I cry.
Cry.
Oh,
Hmm.
but it's a
At,
very touching moment. It's a very touching scene. It was.
I mean, let's think. We could also go to the other side naman of that team. I mean, of the ones who were against them, like sila Fire Lord. What's his name
Ozai.
again? Ozai and si Azula.
Azula.
Because Azula was, if you just look at it, parang objectively, she was a great leader. Because like she had so many achievements. Din, like she
Mhm.
had what?
He is the great example
She
of
she
that.
caught technically she caught the Avatar.
Yes.
She was the one that took control of Basing Say.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Parang what else was there? And then yeah, she's a firebending prodigy. Then
Mhm.
She's a genius kasi.
yeah, no.
Azula was a genius in the sense of raw ability, raw personal ability.
Hmm.
However, yun nga, but she was deficient or in the sense of she had no
Emotional,
emotional connection with people. She had
always looking to
serious dysfunctions as a
Mhm.
emotional damage.
she was extremely emotionally damaged. Yes,
Mhm.
by absolutely terrible father. Um,
What do you call it pag ano, functional something? Ano siya eh, may disorder siya pero functional siya eh.
yeah, she was functional. At least as far as the warring nation, Fire Nation,
no, she was like
society existed.
sociopath or something.
She
If
was a
that's the word.
sociopath na siya.
That's the
Sociopath.
dysfunction.
Yes, she was sociopathic. So, pero yun lang, she would never, it would never have worked if the world was anything else except war. Because she had a
Mhm.
focus for her craziness. In a
Yeah.
more peaceful world, she would have had to need social skills, which she didn't have. She would have
Sabi ni
needed,
Yeah, when she
sabi
lost
ni
what
Ninay
she thought
ano,
were her best friends, yeah, she went crazy.
yeah,
sabi ni
exactly.
Ninay high functioning psychopath.
Yeah, high functional psychopath, I guess is a good
Let's
way.
see.
Hindi naman daw sa abuse, sabi ni Alex. Spoiled siya.
Di siya, no,
Emotionally abused is how I guess
Yes,
she would call
emotionally
it.
abused, I would
Her
agree.
she
mother
was,
didn't. Her mother didn't love her. At least that's how she saw it.
yeah,
And the fact that her father, the one who she sought the approval of, parang
you could say
only
she was spoiled, but spoiling doesn't mean that you and it's a. I mean, it's a very specific kind. It's like I will only love you if you do this.
that's
So
what happened.
yeah, she could only feel her value from military
Achievements.
achievements, from winning and crushing the enemies before them,
Yeah.
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 including in their dysfunctional group, yung brother niya,
Hmm.
because her brother was like, oh, if you can't take the heat, kumbaga, of the Fire Nation, you're worthless. So
Right.
she was
Ac-
shaped with that.
Actually, yeah, that kind of showed then when she was trying to get a relationship then with the guy.
Yeah.
Where
Grabe
in the
yun.
end she was, we will be the most powerful couple in the world. So like
Exactly.
it wasn't about love, it was still about getting
It was
She
still
was
being
about
there.
being the best.
about her.
The
Like, they were
best.
gonna be the best. Like, diba? Sobrang sabog. So, it was very, but I mean, but she was charismatic. She had ability. But this is what happens when they get to power, and then it's like when problems happen that it doesn't bend to their will, it cracks, which is what
Yes.
happened. He totally snapped at the end, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it was just by herself. So yeah. So Avatar,
So
yes, lots of problematic leaders there as well.
I just want to
You
say
could always
hi
go to Korra.
to I just want to say hi to Reese and Jean Margaret on our chat. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, hello.
Yes,
And
also.
Reese was saying something that ano talaga narcissism talaga yung problema ni ano
She had a lot
ni
of she had a lot of mental and psychological problems. Let's put it that way. Narcissism was one of them, yes,
Yes.
which tends to be a trait of a psychopath, I believe, because they only think they're the only ones valuable.
yes,
So
yes.
another example, just to sing it one more character of a leader who is a terrible example, who I don't think anyone would remember,
Oh.
Oh,
Who?
also from Avatar, is who this leader had a bear.
Oh yeah, the Earth King.
The Earth King.
Wait, just a bear? Okay.
He had a
Mhm.
bear. That's all he had, and he
Not a
was
platypus
isolated from
bear?
he. It was isolated from everyone. Oh yeah, well, he was isolated from everyone else. He was an ineffective leader,
Mm.
who was a king in name but not in actuality.
yeah.
So you could say that it was kind of
Like he
out.
had the title and the authority in a way, but
But he could never
authority.
exercise it. He could
But
exercise it.
yeah,
Wasn't the queen
but
just as bad
never
though?
had the respect kind of thing. Like he had the authority, but he didn't have the respect for people to for them
Hmm.
to actually listen to him and do anything. Say the one who actually garnered that respect was he. What's his name? The
Boomy
leader. The
daw.
Si
no,
Boomy.
no, no,
Joke.
not Boomy. The
Boomy
the guy who ran the what's their name?
Omashu. Omashu.
No, not Omashu. I'm talking about the one who actually ran Basing Say.
Ah,
Si
boss ng Daily.
yeah,
Ah,
him.
si
Feng.
that is, yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So he was the one who had the actual respect of the military force, which was
Well,
all he
not
needed to
exactly
take
respect.
control of it. Eh.
He had the actual control. Let's put it
Oh
that
yeah,
way. Actual control.
yeah.
Respect might be debatable, but he had functional control. Yes.
I guess
Blackmail
so.
and brainwash.
He had the respect until si Azula came
Yeah.
in. But yes,
And he
Wasn't
got out.
the queen as bad?
in Legend of Korra, she was pretty bad.
Wait, which queen?
Uh,
Queen.
Queen of
in the
Basing
Earth
Say.
Queen,
The Earth Queen.
Yung sa Korra is
Yes.
era.
the
Okay,
one
I
who was suffocated.
I will not give comment. I wasn't able to finish Korra because I didn't quite like
Oh.
Korra.
You had to say Korra. Maybe you could say si what's your name? Shoot, si Beifong. What's the I forget the
Bay.
first
Lin.
name. Yeah, si Chief Beifong,
Lin Beifong.
Lin.
Lin Beifong.
I like Lin. I like Lin Beifong. She
Yeah,
was
I liked her too.
she was a bit snarky, but heart was in the right place. Very disciplined, very
Yeah.
systematic, which is very not like her mom.
She had her family in check too.
Yeah, super. Um, but I think they grew into that. Like at the start, diba, yung si Lin Beifong had we were very rigid yung ano niya. But
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
my character growth din siya eh. So, interesting lang. But I can't go too into it kasi hindi ko natapos yung series. Lol.
Actually, hindi ko rin natapos. To be honest.
Yeah, I can't really comment on Korra because so it's more of Atla lang talaga for me. So if there are
Ako,
Korra fans, my bad. I love the art of Korra. The animation was great. I just
The
didn't like the
setting, yeah.
storyline. Yeah, I didn't like the storyline after the first season.
I
Um,
like
I,
the
I just
I like the setting, but I just got turned off when I was planning to watch it na, as in binge watch it, and then I saw the ending. And then nawalan ako ng gana. And
yep.
I'm not even gonna comment because I don't want to hear flame
Too
war.
bad.
Alright, any
But yung
other series we want to go through?
But
Sige,
we
sige.
did say we were going to tackle the people on the poster, so we still haven't tackled Joffrey.
Game of
Joffrey.
Thrones,
Oh
yes.
yeah.
my gosh, Game of
Yeah.
Thrones, yes.
So, how
I never really watched the show, so you guys will have to be the ones to comment on it.
no problem, I think. So Game of Thrones is probably the best way to end the program because
It
the
is.
entire TV show is about leaders.
Yeah.
Yes. Well,
Really
So
horrible and not
people wanting to become the leader.
the leader of the land, the Seven
Yeah.
Kingdoms,
The
the
Iron
Iron
The
Throne.
Iron
Iron
Throne. Yeah.
Throne.
So,
Yeah,
just for a background for those who don't know, Game of Thrones is set in a fictional kingdom where there are seven kingdoms that were merged into one, into one
mm,
high kingdom, and people are vying for the throne. Basically, that's why it's the Game of Thrones.
Mhm.
because
And
the king of the High Kingdom died.
yes, so of course we cannot start talking about Game of Thrones without talking about Sean Bean. You must talk about Sean Bean because
Sean
Mr.
Bean or
Bean.
Lord Ned Stark,
Ned Stark.
yes.
Winterfell.
I really like Ned Stark. As much as i- because Ned Stark was a leader that was respected, that
Mm.
he was a leader that was loved by his people. No,
Mm.
unlike many of the leaders in Game of Thrones, where many of them are actually leaders because they are feared. Ned Stark was one of the few that was loved by his people. That people
Yeah.
rallied around, actually around the family, even when Ned Stark was dead, because of their loyalties to Ned. No,
Mhm.
and I think
They felt it was worth that loyalty.
Mhm.
yeah, and I think it's important to recognize that good leaders do not inspire fear, but rather gain the respect of the people that they are leading. No, to the point that they actually are loyal to him even in his death. And I think that's what
Oh.
Ned Stark represented talaga.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, meanwhile, Joffrey, who wants to talk about Joffrey?
I I nominate mm, Mia.
I just know he was a spoiled brat.
Oh,
No,
Otashi?
Yes, you. We don't talk
Oh,
about
we don't
we don't
talk
talk
about
about
Joffrey.
Joffrey.
well,
No, but
um,
actually, we have to. He's a great example to talk about.
example of a bad example. Joke.
Yes, yes, it's a great example of a bad example. I mean, to be fair, it was like
I think John, you're the best person to talk about Joffrey, especially how different he was in the book and in the TV series.
no,
Mm.
it's
Mm.
been so long. But actually, the Joff, no, actually, hindi siya different. I would say the main beats are the same. It's just that the actor brought it out so well how much of a brat he was. How I mean, he was really well portrayed. He was
Yeah.
really well.
Yeah. To the
It's-
point people are.
Yeah, to the point people were doing like real life threats against the actor, which is really a shame because he was a
Yeah.
very convincing actor.
He
Yes.
was
He was
actually,
really convincing, and he
Well,
did well in his role.
that aside, um, he did kasi as a leader, he did very disturbing things to people. For one, the punishment that he he exacted on people who went against him was that he cut their heads off and stick them in a skewer.
Right.
Like, who does that? The
Well, the modern day version of that would be like, if something goes wrong in the office, it'd be like, it's his fault, fire him or something like that, right?
Actually,
That's
it's not like it's unheard of, to be honest, because I mean in history we have what do
we
you call
do.
this, Vlad Tepes, no, which
Mm.
yes,
is the originator of the vampire
Vampire.
mythology.
impaling,
He
Okay,
imp-
for him,
impaling.
he
I don't know
impaled.
if I consider that.
There were rebellions against him, and then he basically killed them and impaled their heads on sticks.
Okay, fine.
So this is historical. This actually
And
happened.
he is just really infamous for it, but we do know that this also happened among other leaders as well.
Yes.
Less storied because he just did it en masse, but others also
Mm,
beheaded a lot of people.
Actually,
King Henry, diba?
mm,
yes.
Uh, the one with a lot of wives. I forgot. He had people killed. He had his
Henry the
wife
Eighth.
killed.
He had his wife killed.
Mhm,
Henry the Eighth.
His
mhm,
wife.
mhm.
Oh,
His wives, not just one.
or he had multiple wives killed because they could not bear him a son. And like, I
Yes.
can't divorce you, so I'll just kill you, so I can get a new wife,
And the
which is
Romans were
really terrible.
also famous for crucifying people and lining the one of the roads, the Appian Way, if I'm not mistaken. So the
Mhm.
whole road from that led to Rome was lined with people who were crucified. They were uh these were the gladiator rebels.
Yeah, so you could say that what Joffrey did is par for the course.
Yeah, fact is
For
stranger than fiction.
Yeah.
Can yeah,
And
it's
actually, when I think of Joffrey kasi there was
Mm.
this part where I read him, actually I read him in the books. And I was like, this guy is so annoying. He's the most one of the most annoying characters in the And then you see him portrayed in the series and like Joffrey.
He's come to life.
So
yeah,
but
yeah. It went from ew annoying character to ooh, I wanna, like, you really wanna strangle the guy.
so parang
So
I was like looking forward to him dying because I knew he was going to die. So when he died, I'm like, "Mm, it was
that's,
satisfying, but not satisfying enough. I want more pain."
yeah, but yun lang yun eh. So unfortunately, one death is all you get. But let's pick it apart. As much as like it's interesting to all these things he did. So why was he a terrible leader? Let's unpack that.
Ako
Yeah.
Mm.
para sa akin talaga is he did as he pleased. He didn't listen to any sound advice. One of the things.
Mhm.
So very self-centered, and he was definitely spoiled. So Azula was
Mhm.
spoiled, but he was spoiled.
If
I like,
Spoiler.
He was spoiled because he didn't even really do anything to get his role. At least Azula had some achievements naman.
true,
Yeah,
true.
she
She
worked
had
for
a
it,
lot.
but
She worked for
Joffrey didn't.
exactly. He was there because of the machinations of his family dropped him into the role, and he thought
Right.
he was all that. He wasn't.
Mhm.
he
So
wasn't.
he wasn't. He wasn't. He wasn't the smartest. He wasn't skilled with a sword. He wasn't a great general. He was just.
He was just
Had
handsome.
coiled kids.
He was a
I say
spoiled.
handsome because even she's so what's her name again? She
Sophie
Sansa.
Turner, si
Sansa. Yeah,
Sansa.
Sansa.
Sansa
Well,
was
he's
swooning over him when they were still like at their own homes, diba?
I suppose, yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, he's handsome, but I think that's more of because of who he was rather than his actual handsomeness. He was alright, I guess, for a teenage blonde kid.
But yeah,
Um,
that's all he had really. He just had charm or something.
he had a little, but no, I wouldn't say even he had charm. Especially the way he came out in the show. His charm was because of his station, not because of his actual charm.
Okay.
I
I
would
would
say, but he had the charm of quote unquote power, of title. He did not have the
Mhm.
actual charm of a person,
Yeah.
which he did. So whether book or character, he had that. Which Azula had. So or jumping back, she actually had charisma. Actually, a lot of the other bad leaders, some of the other bad leaders had charisma. He was the bad because he didn't have much of anything. He didn't have anything. He was very average.
But
Diba?
if you think
For me,
about it, I think if you think about it, bad leaders, there are a lot of bad leaders who have charisma talaga, but it's in how they use that charisma that really made
yes,
them bad leaders. I mean, if we just go back slightly to Star Wars, we talk about Palpatine. He was actually a charismatic leader, no?
true. He had
Although
that statesman air.
he was,
Mhm.
yes, exactly. And so parang people trusted him. And well, we know where that trust went.
Bad idea, but it was. He did project that old grandfatherly image. Like, yes, I will take this burden. It was a very well cultivated image. Of course, we could see behind the scenes, but if you don't see behind the scenes, then it might have been quite convincing.
Exactly. So parang yun yung question talaga na at the end of the day, it's also how we use our skills and abilities. And is it really just for manipulation? Is it really for our own benefit? Or is it for the benefit of others? And I think that's what differentiates really good leaders, diba?
Mhm.
Yep. All right. So I don't know. I guess we could say Jeffrey was a terrible leader because he had no leadership qualities whatsoever.
Yep.
None of the charisma, none of the intelligence, none of the courage, no emotional maturity, no relational maturity. He had nothing going. He had nothing going for him except a toe hold on perhaps good looking appearance. He wasn't bad looking. He wasn't bad looking. But
Oh,
his dad he was not, I would
Mhm.
say. He
definitely.
didn't. I mean, okay, over the series, like there are characters that had huge glow ups. You know,
Mhm.
um, Moon Boy had a huge glow up. You remember who that is? See,
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, he had a huge glow up, but like Joffrey from that was multiple years kasi, right? Yung season na yun eh. He
Oo.
actually had a couple of years worth of like getting out of the teenage gangliness, but he never quite got out of it, and he died horribly and not filling out. So I'm like, sorry, Joffrey, no points at all for you. Zero leader qualities.
I guess you have to also kind of consider then it's the upbringing. Again, we go back to upbringing
He also had horrible
because he
upbringing.
had
Yeah.
horrible upbringing. I mean, even when his brother took over as king,
Yeah.
he was he was a nice guy, yes, but he was a horrible leader. Because 'di ba? Upbringing talaga eh.
True.
They were not taught well. They were
That,
not brought up well.
that's true. They
But
were brought up in the most useless of things. Well, at least his brother had a couple of things going, which was the brother was cute. I think cuter than Joffrey, honestly. Like he had a more charming personality,
Yes.
diba? A more affable personality, and he had a better heart, definitely. But he also didn't have much else.
I guess it also the role of the mother, of course, Cersei,
Yeah,
really affected or factored in how Joffrey grew up and became a leader, a
yeah,
horrible leader at that. Um, with Cersei, I think
dad.
she led from emotions, um, centering on her family.
Mm,
Na sobrang overprotective siya of her family that she used her power, her position to parang magwork towards the protection of her family. So I
The
think,
overprotection of her family, such that
yeah.
she actually neutered any possibility of them learning or
Mm,
developing any abilities.
mhm. And even yung ano yung pagiging king ni Joffrey, syempre siya yung queen, ano 'di ba? Queen regent ba 'yun?
Mm.
Na it's kind of like ano parenting na hovering parenting ganon. Na um even in leadership ng son niya, she was there and she was kind of like micro managing yung mga sons niya in during their leadership. I think that's it.
Yeah, which is ironic because, well, I don't know if it's storytelling, but Cersei herself managed to survive quite long as a leader
Mm.
herself. But partly I think it's plot device because well, she was a really huge best-selling name on the show,
Mhm, mhm.
but also it's just people were just using her in her position. There was no need to kill her until she took over the game. But I don't know. We'll see. Interesting lang. It's such an interesting thing, no, to unpack the Game of Thrones character now that I think Game of Thrones
Mhm.
characters now that I think about it. But unfortunately, we do probably don't have time for that tonight since
Yeah.
we're doing
Mhm.
a more of
Oh,
a
until part two?
highlights thing.
Part 2.
Part
We
two.
part two of diving into leaders in fiction. Perhaps we did mention like baka makaya natin later on this month. Anyway, it's a good topic.
Well, we didn't even get to talk about Jon Snow and what do you call this?
And then
Si Alex sabi niya si Tywin
Daenerys
Lannister.
or Tywin.
or
Okay.
Tywin.
But, I'm okay with the part two. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
Maybe if we get enough likes.
Yeah, if you
Like,
like this topic.
if you like this topic, if you like
Because if people don't enjoy it, then I feel like
that's a
we
good
should.
point. If you guys like the topic, maybe we'll do a more
In
uh,
depth.
in slightly more in depth, and we'll cover other characters from other franchises as well. So
Yes.
not just Game of Thrones stuff, but also other shows, other mediums. We haven't even tackled video games, and anime,
Oh,
and
wait.
comics. Dami pa yan.
Yes.
So, wala lang. Character studies, micro character studies. There's a lot
Ako
we can
talaga I
do.
want to talk about Daenerys talaga actually moving in our part 2.
Mhm,
Daenerys is
mhm.
an interesting character.
She's a
Um
great character to talk about.
I'm kind of just disappointed how she turned out in the series. I hope she doesn't turn out like that in the books.
Or at least better yung right. Well, look, put it this way, John. I'm sure that the development will be much better in the books. I mean, considering that George Martin has 2,000 pages of story.
I just hope he
So
actually finishes them.
no, those are actually written. Those are actually written. The problem lang is he doesn't know how to
Edit.
sort it out. Yeah, it's an editing nightmare. But the story is there.
Ah.
So he has 2 books worth of. I mean, it has to be 2 books. Originally, isang book lang siya, pero 1,800 pages in one book. Ano yan? But, right? No, so like, let's pray for the guy to finish.
Before he dies.
Yeah, before he dies. We would prefer him to finish his work before he dies. If not, well, we know someone young who can take on the challenge. Brandon Sanderson. Anyway, which he did for Robert Jordan anyway. So, we know time. We know he can do it. But yeah, I would rather him actually finish it himself.
Okay. So anyway, with that being said, siguro let's end it here for now. It's also 9:15 already, and we don't want to keep our viewers, our 5 viewers, up too long. But thank you guys
Uh,
for joining us
yeah,
Yes, arigato.
this
if you like
evening.
the talk, please feel free to share it to fans
Yes, we need
of any of
fans.
the things we've been talking about.
Also,
Hi, hi.
this is the kind of stuff that we talk about from time to time. And if you're looking for like a group to be with or support system, then join us at Level Up. You can visit us at invite.gg/LUGN so that you can join our Discord. And we are also again on Facebook, so you can message us as well. So that's it uh from me and the rest of the team. How about you guys? Any last words?
We're good. So ano, just like, share, tag people who might be interested. That's all I can say.
Hi.
All right. Okay, guys. So thank you so much again for this evening, and good night. See you in our next stream. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right.